No barking. No. Memphis. Is this a little guy? Good morning. Ooh, sun's. Ooh, so remember that Richard was trying to get Catherine on a little raft that's filled with a bunch of people, and then there was a fight. Emily watched in horror. One of them was going to drown. She didn't want it to be Richard, but she couldn't hope for it to be the other man either. She turned away. She had to. She swam away from the raft, her heart beating so hard that it felt like it was pounding against the skin of her chest. When she was far enough away, the people next from the water next to the raft. It was Richard's arm. He had won a place for Catherine. Emily! Emily! Richard was yelling to her from the distance. Come on the raft! How? She screamed back. How, she thought, without causing a fight, a deadly fight, and risking not only Richard's life, but hers and Catherine's as well if Richard lost. How without having to watch someone die? She swam closer to the raft, but stayed a safe distance from the swarms of people who were around it. Still clamoring for space, their desperation scared her. With no earth beneath the feet, no dry clothes, no loved ones, they had lost control of themselves. A frantic voice inside her head said, Don't lose Richard and Catherine. How can you save yourself if you don't get on that raft? But she was so confused. Even Richard had gone a little crazy, hadn't he? She yelled. What? He screamed over the shouts and splashes. Emily! I'm here. Don't worry. Best to keep an eye on them, to stay near enough that she could find them, but not so near that she would threaten the keepers of the raft. But she was getting tired. She was still wearing the thin undershirt and her leggings, and they felt heavy. She tried to remember the life-saving unit she'd had in school back in the States. There were ways of treading water that used less energy. What were they? She had never been very good at floating on her back, maybe because her legs were so long, or because she didn't have enough body fat. It always felt like she was sinking unless she inflated her lungs with so much air that they buoyed her torso, in which case she exhausted herself by holding her breath. This was the way through the back float during the class, but it was useless to her now. She was good at sculling her arms to tread water, but knew to keep it rhythmic and slow, making the shape of a flattened figure eight with her hands, and to use a scissors kick with her legs. If she had a good breaststroke, which she knew, if necessary, she would do the side stroke just to use a different set of muscles. She wished she could take off her clothes. The air and water were both warm, but she didn't really need clothes. Yet she couldn't be rescued naked, could she? Would an Indonesian rescuer be willing to pull her into a boat with all of her skin showing? But of course she would be saved, naked or not. This was an emergency. Surely there was some leeway in the local customs if it was a matter of life and death. In the life saving class, wasn't there some way you could use your clothes to your advantage? Something to do with your pants or jeans. Yes, if you tie knots in the legs and capture air in your jeans, they'll float. Enough to hold most of your body weight if you do it right. No one was near her. She, excuse me, she took off her leggings. They were cotton and spandex, a tight weave but thin material, not even close to denim. Would it work? She knotted the legs near the knees and gathered the waist into the hand, like a balloon opening. Then she blew into them while treading water. They did hold air, but it wasn't much, and she couldn't figure out how to knot the waist, so she just held it close with her hand. In this way, the leggings did work as a small float. She still had to tread water, but the makeshift balloon took some of her weight and made the work easier. She felt as if she had accomplished something, and that was a good feeling. It was the first really calm thing that she had done to help herself, wasn't it? She looked around her. It was nearly dark. The chanting had stopped for the moment. It came and went, and each time fewer voices joined in. Emily didn't want to think about what that meant. She spun her body. That leaves us to chapter 9 tomorrow.